Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to the tavern. Jack and Dennis here, and we're here for tavern time.
Yeah.
Let's stand for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mike couldn't be with us today, but he sent us a prayer, and we'll be putting it up on the website. And if you want to look at it, check it out. Our website's fedupwithpolitics.com. It's right behind us. Like, share, subscribe to this channel. Slowly getting more people.
Subscribe. Subscribe is important.
We're starting to build up, but we need more. We need a lot more. And if you're interested, send us a private message on the United States Constitutional Group, or you can email us at uscg20211@aol.com. So Jack, what are you going to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about oaths.
Oaths.
And I'll start off small with small oaths and explain why we have oaths.
So we talked about third party, and a lot of comments we get from people, they always go back to the 1992 elections. They feel Ross Perot was the Republican downfall. But before we get into that, let's start off some comments we received on Facebook. Grab your favorite drink, sit back and relax. Here we go. So we asked a few questions last week. 1, will the Democrats lose seats in the midterm elections? 2, how many people do you know that are fed up with politics? Do you feel the time is right for a third party? And have you seen the comparisons to Hitler in today's world? Can the United States stop these countries? I'm not sure. Jack, do you want to comment on any of them? You jump right in. I want to discuss the last one that we're going to talk about. You have no clue what these comments are? Some great comments from great people. So the first one is this. The lady has been doing her research. She's fed up just like most of us are. So the first question, they will lose seats, but there are a lot of ignorant, uneducated, misinformed voters out there. The number of seats that they lose could be a handful or a boatload. Everyone I know personally is sick and tired of politicians and their divide and conquer techniques. She's an independent voter. Perhaps I am part of the problem, according to some. But the Veterans Party or Constitution Party needs to at least gain enough seats to make both of the major parties to work with them to get anything accomplished.
Excuse me.
I've seen people make comparisons. I don't think Putin is Hitler. I think Z is more of a Hitler.
I think she's right.
Both would love to be Stalin.
I think Putin's more like the guy from Italy during World War II.
Napoleon. I don't know.
The guy, I forget. Anyway, he was a dictator in Italy, but he was a small, Z wants the world, so did Hitler. Putin wants Russia back, so did the guy from Italy during World War II. Boy, my sister's going to be mad at me.
She's not both of us. So Stalin, she thinks, is the greatest mass murderer in history. I think she's right there.
Yeah, but I got a few, history hasn't told yet, but he was an animal, and I picked Hitler because of what's going on in today's current events, kind of bringing current events and history repeating itself all the time. But you could take any animal that wants to rule the world. The problem is when people say they want to rule the world, nobody asks them the question, what are you going to do with it afterwards? It's impossible to rule the world. Mussolini. Oh, good brain. But, I think she's right with that. I think Hitler, Putin is more like Mussolini, and Z is definitely Hitler. He wants everything. And I tell you the truth, now, I always say George Soros, but you can pick any of the other 250 billionaires that signed the contract with George Soros and Nancy Pelosi to get this one world order going. But, that's who's funding these things too. You know, don't forget George Soros in this country is funding all of these one world order projects that they're doing, open borders, getting rid of our fossil fuels. He's betting against America. He betted against his own country. That's how he made his first billion. And many, many other these billionaires have signed up for that. We're gonna have to start working on that. Maybe start finding out who the other 249 billionaires were that signed up with George Soros, so we don't continue to just blast this one guy, because there's a lot of them, and they all own a lot of companies, and Americans are investing in them, and they should know what kind of people you're paying their luxury for.
You know, you and I, we've talked about the number of seats we need to win to accomplish our goals. And people think it's a total takeover, but that's not what we want. We don't want a total takeover. We figure we need about 25 congressional seats and about 5 Senate seats to see changes. We don't need a heck of a lot. We'll take as many as we can get.
Well, the thing of it is this next presidential election, if you get an American first type person to run for office and get in there, to get this country back quick, you do need those supermajorities. So you can do these bills the right way and not do executive orders anymore, which are, number one, illegal, number two, non-functioning into the next administration that decides to come along and change everything. You know, they have to get rid of czars and stuff like that. But yeah, for common sense to be reached out there, there's a small number. To make drastic change in a short term, it would have to be a supermajority in both houses.
So
my feeling, anyway.
Right, so this independent voter, you're not the problem. The problem is Republicans and Democrats and not having term limits. We've given them too much power. Okay, it's these tyrants in the White House, all the way down to local elections. So our next comment.
Well, just to say on that too, though, yeah, the people that are in the independent party, we always say the leader of the independent party right now, the highest elected official, is Bernie Sanders. And you didn't leave the Democratic Party or the Republican Party to join the problem with the independent party is it's a bunch of people that don't know where to go. Hence the reason that me and Dennis, you know, we sat here and we formulated, and when we kept saying, what's our problem? Well, what our problem is we don't have a place to hang our plaque and say home sweet home. Can't do it in the Republican Party, can't do it in the Democratic Party. The independent party, the leader is Bernie Sanders, certainly not going to do that. And there's a few other parties out there that I wouldn't feel happy 100% going through it, because Dennis and I feel like the true party is the party of the Constitution through the Declaration of Independence. So, independent people are not the problem. They don't have a place to rally around. And that's why we're making this third party. To give the independent, fedupwithpolitics folks a place to go and speak on the same level with each other.
There's over 30 million people that are registered independent. That's more than the Republican Party.
Right. And almost as many as the Democrats.
So the next statement we talked about in a previous show. Nationalism is on the rise here and there throughout the world. That's what this gentleman said. Hopefully that is the most apt comparison to Hitler. There seems to be a measurable increase in racism and anti-Semitism, but not in the ballpark of what is going on in the 30s and 40s. So we had some enough times back then.
Yeah, well, first off, nationalism isn't on the rise. It's on the decline for the 16th year in a row. You know, people are not, they're running away from the standards of this country. Mm-hmm. They're scared to be an American. They're scared to have those beliefs because they get labeled. People, we have to start realizing that these people that name call, we have to look right back at them and say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me. And then educate yourself enough, not where you're always right, because you're never going to be always right, but where you can have a decent debate with these people, because they don't know, and they'll back down very quickly. And what their alternative to is they won't go back and forth to you. They will turn this way and say, you're a racist. You're a bag of deplorables. You hold on to your guns, Bibles, and family. They're going to insult you in that way. And if they start insulting you, you know you're hitting. So when they start doing that, say, whoa, 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 no, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Stay here. Really, tell me. That's what we do a lot of times. We have a lot of people comment, well, this is what needs to be done. I had a great back and forth with a guy who was really interested, you know, and I just kept saying, well, what is your plan for that? How do you get rid of that? What do we do? You have to have a plan. Yeah, you're right. You know, he was talking about the election system, these machines, that they're corrupt. And he's right, they're all corrupt. But you can't go knock on the door of the White House and the Capitol building and say, ding dong, I'm here, I'm going to sell these new machines. You got to get rid of those. Because it benefits them. So we have to formulate a plan. This is the best me and Dennis could come up with. You know, we want this party, before it gets to be whatever it can grow to be, to at least be the conscience of government. Where the Democratic Party and the Republican Party say, I don't think Dennis and Jack's party is really going to go for this. Let's see what kind of negotiations we can make. And it all has to be aligned with the Constitution. And if it's not, the American people have to know about it.
Right. You know, there are politicians and people out there that want sectionalism because it divides this nation and increases racial divide. That is exactly what politicians want.
Yep. Divide and conquer is what it's called.
We lose with sectionalism. We win with nationalism. Think about that. They can all smell the weakness of this administration. I don't just worry about China, but I worry about what North Korea and Iran will do.
Well, we've been talking about that for 8 months.
Oh, yeah. So this is what I want to talk about. And this came from Edward Horan. He's from Compton, California. Way out there. Isn't that like, I don't know, I've heard stories about Compton. I'll have to ask
I
him.
don't know. Yeah, ask him, but I appreciate that he doesn't mind his name being mentioned.
Yep. Yeah, I asked him the other day. So he said this: what is really sad to me as a black person is that all my life, blacks were the least trustful of government in this country until a gay Muslim got elected. And suddenly, blacks started thinking they had legitimate stake in power in the government. But all we really got was manipulated by the enemies of our own racial anger, and prejudice seems to push us more deeper into a deception. What do you guys say about that?
I think he's right. You know, there was a saying that a guy from ESPN said. He was doing a speech, and you know, he was talking about the black community, that, you know, they are not represented by either political party out there. The Democrats feel like they have their vote no matter what they do, and Republicans feel like they don't have their vote no matter what they do. So they're getting represented by nobody. And I was speaking with somebody that I work with, and I said to them, do you feel, now there's a little spot by where we live in Conway. One part of the town is very profitable and high, you know, the price of their homes are more, and la-di-da-di-da. In the same town, it's not. So I asked this person I worked with, you know, it's a woman that I work with. I said, do you think that this part of the neighborhood that doesn't have the value of their homes and the availability to buy homes, you think that because that part of the neighborhood, and this goes for all black communities, is so riddled with government subsidies and government programs and government rule that they don't have the freedoms to prosper? I mean, this town is a perfect example of it. One half is just moving along, houses are going, you know, the value of their homes are going up 25%. They're booming. So, but this side doesn't have any government subsidies involved in it. There is no stranglehold. You're not allowed to do that, or we're going to take your subsidies away. The other side, they don't. They don't have home ownership. They don't have any banks going through there. There's no investments in their neighborhood. Nobody wants to be part of their new restaurants or something, because they have to bend knee actually to the government because they don't want to lose the subsidies that's there. So in these communities that are not being represented by either side, but just throwing money at, but you can only have this money if you do this, maybe they'd be better off without the government subsidies and get the freedoms that the other part of the neighborhood again. I don't know if I explained that right, but you know, one side of this town is completely flourishing, the other side is not. The one side has all kinds of housing and building projects going on, the other side doesn't. One side has no government subsidies or no no regulation at all, and the other side is riddled with it. What's the difference? So you got to ask yourself, just like you have to ask everything in government, can I not get ahead right now? I get up every day and I want to go to work. Is it because the government is holding me back? You know, what you got to ask yourself. I worked in these neighborhoods. These people are good people. You know, these are the neighborhoods that I cut my teeth on working. But they don't have a fair shake because of the regulations that they're stuck under. And it's for generations. 40 years worth.
I gotta correct myself, his last name is Horn, not Horan, Edward Horn. So, the Declaration of Independence states this: we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights that are among the life, liberty, and happiness, in the pursuit of happiness, It's right there in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
The person I think he's talking about is Marie Turner from Oklahoma City. She was the first in the country elected as a mayor who was Muslim and LBGQT. That was November 2020.
Which I heard from there was a report of a guy that works for Disney that is gay. And he says, I'm gay. I'm not LBGQT. I'm in there. I don't want to be part of that. I'm just a gay man that doesn't believe what Disney is doing. And he's misrepresented it. So, first off, again, ask yourself, these people, if you're any one of these things, who put you in there and who had the right to put you in there?
Right.
You know, that's the same thing as me and Dennis always say, the word minority.
Oh, we're going to get to that next.
Right. You know, I mean, who gets to label you that?
Right. So Jack said, I just want to talk about one word, and it should bother everyone, and that's minority. If we all are created equal, like the Declaration says, then why do we call anyone minority? We are American citizens. We all bleed red. No one likes the word minority. Why do we let these congressional hacks label people that way? No one is a minority. We're all Americans. We're all created equal. We all strive to achieve our own dreams. The word minority needs to be removed from politics.
Well, I tell you what, here's a perfect example of how people realize that the word minority is derogatory. Because 1% of the country is the ultra rich, and they are phrased as the 1%. They're minority. But why are they not called minority? Because it's degrading and they don't want to be the minority. So that now, because a lot of our politicians are part of that 1%, it's called the 1%. So the 1% of the country is not the biggest minority group that's out there. They're 1%.
Right.
But they never called the minority because they wouldn't allow it.
You know, we should have a majority party and a non-majority party in politics. No more minority. You need to strike it. Get rid of it. Because it sounds like a derogatory term. That's our feedback this week.
Well, you know what, though? To go back to that, Dennis, just so you and I can have a debate. You know, now you're getting into what they're saying here, nouns. You know, it's been, you're the majority party, you're the minority party. But that's a non-living aspect of it. Maybe people shouldn't be called minority and non-minority, you know. But, you know, you don't want to start changing nouns around, but not to change a noun around in life where people are living. Like, hey, listen, I'm living with this label, I'm a minority. You just get rid of the word, you don't replace it with anything.
Correct.
Because, like you said, they're not a minority, they're an American. Now let's pick them up, let's raise them to where there's, you know, so they can be, that's what, government is here not to suppress people, but to raise them up, to give you opportunity. Our government, our politicians today, do not let the American people prosper.
No, they want to hold them down.
And that's not fair. So if you want to talk about the people of minority, we're all going to become part of that because the government is taking more and more of your freedoms away from you. So, no more minority, you're an American.
That's right.
You could be part of one party or another, whatever's in power, however you want to say it. But human beings should not be separated in that you're just American.
So we'll keep sending questions, keep answering us. Appreciate the feedback. What's that?
Next week, live.
Oh yeah, next week we're going to do a live on our Facebook page at the United States Constitutional Group. So wish us luck. We'll be there. Again, if you want to participate, again, it's the United States Constitutional Group. If you want to reach out to us on private messenger, we're there. Or you can email us, uscg20211@aol.com. It's right here. You can't miss it. So Jack, you want us to talk about the oaths today?
Yeah, so my own personal feeling, I feel like there's, people don't take the oath serious in anything they do. Let's say you join one of these clubs, Elk Club, Moose Club, whatever club, Knights of Columbus. Years ago, there was a whole process to become part of one of these clubs. And then there was an oath, and you had to abide by it, And I noticed in a lot of these clubs, they don't have the process to get involved in it other than pay. Pay, okay, you're a member. There's no more oath. There is no more toes to the line, like, listen, this is a non-profit group you belong to. We have certain things that we donate to, and you got to work for that. Do a pancake breakfast, do this, do that. There is no loyalty to an oath. Every show, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. How many people at home bother to take the pledge with us? Not stand up and look at a flag, but maybe just hold your head down and realize, listen, I do belong to the greatest country in the world. I do believe in this oath, and this is my pledge to the allegiance of the best country in the world. It's lacking. And once you start lacking in oaths, then it's easy to get out of them. If you're not serious about your oath, and you're not going to carry it through, then you have no morals towards that, so to speak. So if you don't believe in the Pledge of Allegiance, and you don't believe in the oaths you take when you take into these offices, well then you don't feel that bad when you don't follow it. So our government is not following the Constitution of the United States that was written by...
It happened for a long time.
Yeah, and it was written by the greatest generation this country had, that founded this country. And this oath is taken, I have it. So let me read you the oath. Now this is the oath for representatives and senators and any other government official. So if you're an appointed political, appointed employee like Fauci, or like the Attorney General, or any of these other people that are in Chris Hayes for the FBI, these are the oaths you take. And here's the oath for all federal appointed, elected, and working uniform federal employee. I, you say your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. That's for everybody.
One question for Sean. We had to take an oath to get in the military, right? We take that oath
Yep.
seriously?
Oh yeah.
So
I have a lot of friends that always, just do conversation. Always like, oh, well, you're in the military. What if, the government really does want to take our guns and they put our military against our own people? What are you going to do? Well, listen to what the government tells me to do. That's what I signed up for. You can't go against it.
that's right. So
My brother Mike took the same oath. He worked in the post office. My sister Margaret took the same. She works in the post. It's a uniform member of government. So it's elected, appointed, and uniform. All service take this. The
so
president,
they expect us to take it seriously, but they don't.
right, so the president, his oath is not the same. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Failed. Failure.
So, again, here's what I'd like everybody to look at. Like everything else in government, you see two separate, so all the judges in the Supreme Court, everybody in the FBI, post office, military, Senate, representatives, every bureaucracy that there is takes an oath. The same oath, but not the president. Why is that? Ask yourself. I don't have, listen, I don't know. So, but I do know that all people take this. So, here we go. I read an article. Now, I don't do this a lot. Usually this is Dennis. And I'm not going to read the whole article. It's by Jeff Neal, January 4th, 2021. 2021, yeah. The Federal New Network. And he wrote an article, I do solemnly swear, in quotes, the oath of office and what it means. So, federal employees are often told by their supervisors or political appointees to be loyal to an agency or a boss. The oath is to remind these people not to swear allegiance to the supervisor, an agency, a political appointee, or even to the President of the United States. It is to support and defend the United States Constitution and faithfully execute your duties. It says it right in there. It is to protect the public from a government. Here you go. This guy is very good. That might fall victim to political winds and provide a North Star, the Constitution, as a source of direction. Holy shit, that's powerful. And how many people in Washington, D.C. you think are realizing the oath that they... This is what me and Dennis say all the time. Bernie Sanders, AOC, Tlaib, the squad, these people do not belong in government. And I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why Senate and representatives' oath is different than the president, it was changed 4 times in the 1600s to keep the Confederates out of government. Because they didn't believe in the Constitution. So they weren't allowed to represent the United States. Because they did not believe in the Constitution of the United States or law of the land. Bernie Sanders and his cronies do not believe in the Constitution. George Soros and the 249 other billionaires with him do not believe in the Constitution with Pelosi, Schumer, Nadler, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. These people, Tom Rice needs to be out. Let me tell you something, people. The oath matters to us and this government. And the people representing you do not believe in the oath they're taking, and they do not take it seriously, and they refuse to rule by the oath and the Constitution from the Declaration of Independence.
So it's funny you mentioned Tom Rice. Guess what I got? Another email from him.
Did you?
2 in 2 weeks.
Wow. All of a sudden he found his keyboard. Son of a bitch. Let me tell you something, people. Start taking oaths and swear allegiance to certain things that you do seriously. Because that's what society's missing right now. Words mean something. You swear to something. Listen, I have my brother here every week. And he represents the small part of God in government. And he's preaching his word. Because there is this part of government is all the legal and aspect. The moral part is out of God's word there too. So when you faithfully swear that you're going to do this, you are faithfully swearing through God, above all man, that you are willing to do man's work and representing the people that voted you in.
Very good. So we've talked about starting this party for several months. And we always get a lot of comments about why you're going to do that. And people always refer back to the 1992 presidential election between Clinton and Bush. They always bring that back. Hold on. They feel that independent candidate Ross Perot was the one reason why the Republican president lost. He's the problem. He was it. And we'll never know if that was really the case. Never know.
Again, words matter. When George Bush declared no more new taxes and raised the taxes, again, words matter. Number two, if you don't do your research and understand why this man had to raise taxes, a lot of Republicans said, well, I'm not voting for Bush because he lied. So they just cut their nose off to spite their face.
Right. But here are a few things that helped Bush lose the election. When he was running for office, like Jack just said,
Sorry.
read my lips, no new taxes. I hope we all remember that. If not, go back and look it up. But during his first term in office, the country hit with a recession, with the collapse of the savings and loan industry.
That he was involved in.
And Bush had to raise taxes on the American people. He had no choice. We were in a bad economy. He lost the faith of his most important electorate, the conservatives, who thought he had turned back on them. So his core base didn't come out and support him. But even before the election started, he was in a dead heat with an unknown opponent. Not even know who he's running against. He was in a dead heat. That should tell people things were not looking good. Being in a race and not even knowing your opponent and you're tied with him, I mean, how can you win? That's not good. Yes, Ross Perot received 19 million votes, but he did not receive one electoral vote. Not even one. He was not the reason Bush lost the 1992 presidential election. He was not the spoiler.
That's a good point. He didn't get any electoral votes. That's very good.
You know?
A lot of people stop short of that.
Yep.
The 19 million, that was a big number.
They were
but
fed up with politics.
yeah.
The only thing Ross Perot did was bring back populism to politics. He woke people up, got people thinking about presidential election and politics in general. He was fed up. We tried to do something about it. We're trying to do the same thing. Wake up people today and realize these tyrants need to be voted out of office. We want people to do their research about these politicians and vet new ones that can replace him. That's why we're starting this third party, called the Independent Constitutional Party. We are going to put these two parties in check. We're tired of the partisan gridlock. Stand with us. Anything else?
Yeah, just one more thing I got with that, with what Dennis is saying. You know, Ross Perot went in as a third party and this and that. You know, we're not looking to throw a president of the United States into office because that's a short-term goal and a short-term fix. I mean, it would get us some numbers, but eventually it would fade. We want to do a regular grassroots thing. Start getting people elected into local, state offices.
County.
You know, then start going into representatives and senators and build this up to make a conscience to the rest of the government that, listen, these are your obligations that you make. You know, this whole thing about the oaths is going to be in our platform. It's going to be done pretty soon. And the reason why it's in there, not only is it in there, but it's in the first couple of pages. It's in the preamble. Because without the oath, there's nothing serious to bring to the table anymore. Because if you're not willing to hold up an oath that you just swore to, you'll hold up to nothing. You're a paper tiger. You know, you're wasting my time. And unfortunately, you're taking a lot of my money in salary and other benefits that you get. So, you know, we get that people are always afraid, oh, you guys are going to ruin it for the other party and we're not going to get these Democrats out because it's going to split. We're a long way away from there, number one. Number two, when it does come to a time when there's a president going under the Independent Constitutional Party,
We made it.
there's going to be a lot of other people in the federal government too. So, and state. And maybe some governors, and whatever it is that it takes. It's not going to be a one-time win. We're going to throw somebody in there and become, you know...
Overnight success.
Right, and then they're going to gobble up all kinds of book deals and airtime on TV and stuff like that, make that money and leave with their 15 minutes of fame. We're not looking for 15 minutes of fame. We're looking for a terrific, wonderful, historical country that we grew up in, the United States of America.
We want to keep it that way. So Jack and I don't have all the answers, but we do the best research we can. I will say this though, for as long as I can remember, elected officials have been dividing this nation into several groups. Several people often tell me that we should get rid of all political parties, and I do agree with that.
George Washington did.
Yep,
If he disagreed with it, can't be too wrong.
that's right. We all know that will never happen. These two major parties will never relinquish the control that they have. Well, I have a couple questions to ask. Is the black community tired of the word minority? Is the Asian and Hispanic community sick of hearing that word? In my opinion, the word is outdated. It makes people feel worthless. The Declaration states we're all equal. Start treating people like we should be treated, United States American citizens. I found this last night. The dangerous erosion of the Democratic Party foundation. By greedy means, it was January this year. Polls among black voters show a sharp decline in support for Biden, from a high of 68% dropping to a recent low of 48%, plus 20%. The key issues are COVID-19, the economy, and jobs. Democrats take the black vote for granted, but it will not take forever for traditionally black voters to figure out what the party is. And many black Democratic politicians are not really their friends at all. And all of them, and that all of the divisive racist actor for Biden is designed to hide a great deal of that deceit. Again, do your own research, just like this article I just mentioned, look it up. So we're just about to close up for today. So Jackie, your last call?
My last call is, just like we said here, everything you see as far as this government goes, ask yourself questions about it. Why is the Senate and the representatives taking a different oath than the president? We told you why. It was in order to keep the Confederates out of our government. This government was founded on its principles, and they don't want communism in there. They don't want socialism in there. These people don't believe in your Constitution. They can, when they take an oath to uphold it and make sure that it's through domestic and foreign invasion, they're lying. They're lying. And they shouldn't be in government, and they shouldn't be getting your tax dollars, and they shouldn't be voting on things that are going to direct this country. They do not, I don't even know if the squad even ever read the Constitution to even know about it. You know, AOC says a lot of things that the people of America need to do this and need to do that. She was a bartender before she got elected. Excuse me, Miss AOC. When you were a bartender, trying to get by, scraping by, before you were making $174,000 a year of our money, tax dollars, could you afford to do all the shit you want us to do now? No. You wouldn't be able to afford to fly down to Washington, D.C. and back up to New York all the time when you do as you do will now, or willy-nilly. You wouldn't be able to get rid of Amazon and six-figure salaries because you don't believe in their green energy policies. You're an animal. You're being so destructive to the people of New York, yet they still vote you in. You do not believe in the American way. You do not believe in the American history. You do not belong in American government.
Good points. I'm going to end with this. It's okay to say no. When our kids are growing up, we tell them that word all the time. No, no, no. It's to teach them about right and wrong. So don't be afraid when these people come to your door looking for your signature to sign their petitions for all candidates. I'm not sure it'll be the candidate knocking on your door. Probably not.
I doubt it.
You know?
Be some crony.
Find out what that candidate, what that elected official has done for you and your family. You haven't seen them or even heard from them since the last election cycle. They're only using you. Just say no.
Thank you, Nancy.
We want to thank everyone for listening. Just remember, next week we're going live on Facebook, United States Constitutional Group, and hopefully the next couple weeks after that we'll be on Twitch.
We're going to get the platform out too. I just got to finish typing it up. I'm done going through my rabbit holes. send it out for review to make sure I got all my P's and Q's and periods and apostrophes right.
So we appreciate all you guys, girls. Please help us get bigger by sharing this with friends and family. Hit the like button, be a subscriber. Remember, knowledge is power. We'll see you next time at the tap room.
Good job.